Hinduism is a religion, or a way of life, found most notably in India and Nepal. Hinduism has been called the oldest religion in the world, and some practitioners and scholars refer to it as Sanātana Dharma, the eternal law, or the eternal way, beyond human origins. Scholars regard Hinduism as a fusion, a synthesis of various Indian cultures and traditions, with diverse roots and no founder. This Hindu synthesis started to develop between 500 BCE and 300 CE, following the Vedic period. Although Hinduism contains a broad range of philosophies, it is linked by shared concepts, recognizable rituals, cosmology, shared textual resources, and pilgrimage to sacred sites. Hindu texts are classified into Shruti and Smriti. These texts discuss theology, philosophy, mythology, Vedic yajna, yoga and agamic rituals, and temple building, among other topics. Major scriptures include the Vedas and Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Agamas. Sources of authority and eternal truths in its texts play an important role, but there is also a strong Hindu tradition of the questioning of this authority. To deepen the understanding of these truths and to further develop the tradition, prominent themes in Hindu beliefs include the four Purusarthas, the proper goals or aims of human life, namely Dharma, Artha, Karma and Moksha, Karma, Samsara, and the various yogas. Hindu practices include rituals such as puja and recitations, meditation, family-oriented rites of passage, annual festivals, and occasional pilgrimages. Some Hindus leave the social world and material possessions, then engage in lifelong sannyasa to achieve moksha. Hinduism prescribes the eternal duties, such as honesty, refraining from injuring living beings, patience, forbearance, self-restraint, and compassion, among others. Hinduism is the world's third largest religion, with over 1 billion followers, or 15% of the global population, known as Hindus. The majority Hindus reside in India, Nepal, Mauritius and Bali. Etymology: the word Hindu is derived from the Indo-Aryan Sanskrit word Sindhu, the Indo-Aryan name for the Indus River in the northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent. According to Gavin Flood, the actual term Hindus first occurs as a Persian geographical term for the people who lived beyond the river Indus. More specifically in the 6th century BCE inscription of Darius I. The term Hindus in these ancient records is a geographical term and did not refer to a religion. Among the earliest known records of Hindus with connotations of religion may be in the 7th century CE Chinese text record of the western regions by Shanzang, and 14th century Persian text Futuhu Salatan by Abd al-Malik Isami. Tharpa states that the word Hindu is found as Hepta Hindu in Avesta, equivalent to Rigvedic Sapta Sindhu, while HNDSDN is found in a Sasanian inscription from the 3rd century CE, both of which refer to parts of northwest and South Asia. The Arabic term al-Hind referred to the people who live across the river Indus. This Arabic term was itself taken from the pre-Islamic Persian term Hindus, which refers to all Indians. By the 13th century, Hindustan emerged as a popular alternative name of India, meaning the land of Hindus. The term Hindu was later used occasionally in some Sanskrit texts such as the later Rajataranginis of Kashmir and some 16th to 18th century Bengali Gaudiya Vaishnava texts including Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata. These texts used it to contrast Hindus from Muslims who are called Javanas or Malekshas, with the 16th century Chaitanya Charitamrita text and the 17th century Bhakta Mala text using the phrase Hindu Dharma. It was only towards the end of the 18th century that European merchants and colonists began to refer to the followers of Indian religions collectively as Hindus. The term Hinduism, then spelled world. Hinduism was introduced into the English language in the 18th century to denote the religious, philosophical, and cultural traditions native to India. Definitions: Hinduism includes a diversity of ideas on spirituality and traditions, but it has no ecclesiastical order, no unquestionable religious authorities, no governing body, no prophet nor any binding holy book. Hindus can choose to be polytheistic, pantheistic, monotheistic, monistic, agnostic, atheistic or humanist. Because of the wide range of traditions and ideas covered by the term Hinduism, arriving at a comprehensive definition is difficult. The religion defies our desire to define and categorize it. Hinduism has been variously defined as a religion, a religious tradition, a set of religious beliefs, and a way of life. From a Western lexical standpoint, Hinduism, like other faiths, is appropriately referred to as a religion. In India, the term Dharma is preferred, which is broader than the Western term religion. Hindu traditionalists prefer to call it Sanātana Dharma, the study of India and its cultures and religions, and the definition of Hinduism has been shaped by the interests of colonialism and by Western notions of religion. Since the 1990s, those influences and its outcomes have been the topic of debate among scholars of Hinduism, and have also been taken over by critics of the Western view on India. Typology: Hinduism, as it is commonly known, can be subdivided into a number of major currents. Of the historical division into 6 darsanas, 2 schools, Vedanta and Yoga, are currently the most prominent. Classified by primary deity or deities, 4 major Hinduism modern currents are Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Shaktism and Smartism. Hinduism also accepts numerous divine beings, with many Hindus considering the deities to be aspects or manifestations of a single impersonal absolute or ultimate reality, a god, while some Hindus maintain that a specific deity represents the supreme and various deities are lower manifestations of the supreme. Other notable characteristics include a belief in existence of Atman, reincarnation of one's Atman, and karma, as well as a belief in Dharma. McDaniel classifies Hinduism into 6 major kinds and numerous minor kinds, in order to understand expression of emotions among the Hindus. The major kinds, according to McDaniel, are folk Hinduism, based on local traditions and cults of local deities, and is the oldest. Non-literate system: Vedic Hinduism, based on the earliest layers of the Vedas traceable to 2nd millennium BCE. Vedantic Hinduism, based on the philosophy of the Upanishads, including Advaita Vedanta, emphasizing knowledge and wisdom. Yogic Hinduism, following the text of Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, emphasizing introspective awareness. Dharmic Hinduism, or daily morality, which McDaniel states is stereotyped in some books as the only form of Hindu religion with a belief in karma, cows and caste. And Bhakti, devotional Hinduism, where intense emotions are elaborately incorporated in the pursuit of the spiritual. Michaels distinguishes 3 Hindu religions and 4 forms of Hindu religiosity. The 3 Hindu religions are Brahmanic Sanskritic Hinduism, folk religions and tribal religions, and founded religions. The 4 forms of Hindu religiosity are the classical Karma Marga, Jnana Marga, Bhakti Marga, and heroism, which is rooted in militaristic traditions, such as Ramaism and parts of political Hinduism. This is also called Viryamarga. According to Michaels, 1 out of 9 Hindu belongs by birth to one or both of the Brahmanic Sanskritic Hinduism and folk religion typology, whether practicing or non-practicing. He classifies most Hindus as belonging by choice to one of the founded religions, such as Vaishnavism and Shaivism, that of salvation focused and often to emphasize Brahman priestly authority, yet incorporate ritual grammar of Brahmanic Sanskritic Hinduism. He includes among founded religions Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism that are now distinct religions, syncretic movements such as Brahmo Samaj and the Theosophical Society, as well as various Guruism and new religious movements such as Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and ISKCON. Indon states that the attempt to classify Hinduism by typology started in the imperial times, when proselytizing missionaries and colonial officials sought to understand and portray Hinduism from their interests. Hinduism was construed as emanating not from a reason of spirit but fantasy and creative imagination, not conceptual but symbolical, not ethical but emotive, not rational or spiritual but of cognitive mysticism. This stereotype followed and fit, states Indon, with the imperial imperatives of the era, providing the moral justification for the colonial project. From tribal animism to Buddhism, everything was subsumed as part of Hinduism. The early reports set the tradition and scholarly premises for typology of Hinduism, as well as the major assumptions and flawed presuppositions that has been at the foundation of Indology. Hinduism, according to Indon, has been neither what imperial religionists stereotyped it to be, nor is it appropriate to equate Hinduism to be merely monist pantheism and philosophical idealism of Advaita Vedanta. Indigenous understanding. Sanātana Dharma. To its adherents, Hinduism is a traditional way of life. Many practitioners refer to Hinduism as Sanātana Dharma, the eternal law, or the eternal way. The Sanskrit word dharma has a much deeper meaning than religion and is not its equivalent. All aspects of a Hindu life, namely acquiring wealth, fulfillment of desires, and attaining liberation, are part of Dharma, which encapsulates the right way of living and eternal harmonious principles in their fulfillment. Sanātana Dharma refers to the eternal duties all Hindus have to follow, regardless of class, caste, or sect, such as honesty, refraining from injuring living beings, purity, goodwill, mercy, patience, forbearance, self-restraint, generosity, and asceticism. This is contrasted with svadharma, one's own duty, the duties to be followed by members of a specific caste and stage of life. According to Knott, this also refers to the idea that its origins lie beyond human history, and its truths have been divinely revealed and passed down through the ages to the present day in the most ancient of the world's scriptures, the Veda. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the term has also more recently been used by Hindu leaders, reformers, and nationalists to refer to Hinduism as a unified world religion. Sanātana Dharma has thus become a synonym for the eternal truth and teachings of Hinduism, the latter conceived of as not only transcendent of history and unchanging but also as indivisible and ultimately non-sectarian. Hindu modernism. Beginning in the 19th century, Indian modernists reasserted Hinduism as a major asset of Indian civilization, meanwhile purifying Hinduism from its tantric elements and elevating the Vedic elements. Western stereotypes were reversed, emphasizing the universal aspects, and introducing modern approaches of social problems. This approach had a great appeal, not only in India, but also in the West. Major representatives of Hindu modernism are Raja Rammohn Roy, Vivekananda, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan and Mahatma Gandhi. Raja Rammohn Roy is known as the father of the Hindu Renaissance. He was a major influence on Swami Vivekananda, who, according to Flood, was a figure of great importance in the development of a modern Hindu self-understanding and in formulating the West's view of Hinduism. Central to his philosophy is the idea that the divine exists in all beings, that all human beings can achieve union with this innate divinity, and that seeing this divine as the essence of others will further love and social harmony. According to Vivekananda, there is an essential unity to Hinduism, which underlies the diversity of its many forms. According to Flood, Vivekananda's vision of Hinduism is one generally accepted by most English-speaking middle-class Hindus today. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan sought to reconcile Western rationalism with Hinduism, presenting Hinduism as an essentially rationalistic and humanistic religious experience. This global Hinduism has a worldwide appeal, transcending national boundaries and, according to Flood, becoming a world religion alongside Christianity, Islam and Buddhism, both for the Hindu diaspora communities and for Westerners who are attracted to non-Western cultures and religions. It emphasizes universal spiritual values such as social justice, peace and the spiritual transformation of humanity. Quote, "It has developed partly due to reinculturation, or the pizza effect, in which elements of Hindu culture have been exported to the West, gaining popularity there, and as a consequence also gained greater popularity in India. This globalization of Hindu culture brought to the West teachings which have become an important cultural force in Western societies, and which in turn have become an important cultural force in India, the place of origin." Western understanding. Western scholars regard Hinduism as a fusion, a synthesis of various Indian cultures and traditions, which emerged after the Vedic period, between 500–200 BCE and c. 300 CE, the beginning of the epic and Puranic c.q. pre-classical period. Hinduism's tolerance to variations in belief and its broad range of traditions make it difficult to define as a religion according to traditional Western conceptions. Some academics suggest that Hinduism can be seen as a category with fuzzy edges, rather than as a well-defined and rigid entity. Some forms of religious expression are central to Hinduism and others, while not as central, still remain within the category. Based on this idea, Feroluzzi has developed a prototype theory approach to the definition of Hinduism. Diversity and unity. Diversity. Hinduism has been described as a tradition having a complex, organic, multi-leveled and sometimes internally inconsistent nature. Hinduism does not have a unified system of belief encoded in a declaration of faith or a creed, but is rather an umbrella term comprising the plurality of religious phenomena of India. According to the Supreme Court of India, unlike other religions in the world, the Hindu religion does not claim any one prophet. It does not worship any one god. It does not believe in any one philosophic concept. It does not follow any one act of religious rites or performances. In fact, it does not satisfy the traditional features of a religion creed. It is a way of life and nothing more. Part of the problem with a single definition of the term Hinduism is the fact that Hinduism does not have a founder. It is a synthesis of various traditions, the Brahmanical orthopraxy, the Renansa traditions and popular local traditions. Some Hindu philosophies postulate a theistic ontology of creation, of sustenance, and of the destruction of the universe. Yet some Hindus are atheists, as they view Hinduism more as philosophy than religion. Sense of unity. Despite the differences, there is also a sense of unity. Most Hindu traditions revere a body of religious or sacred literature, the Vedas, although there are exceptions. These texts are a reminder of the ancient cultural heritage and point of pride for Hindus, with Louis Renou stating that, even in the most orthodox domains, the reverence to the Vedas has come to be a simple raising of the hat. Haldfast states states that, although Shaivism and Vaishnavism may be regarded as self-contained religious constellations, there is a degree of interaction and reference between the theoreticians and literary representatives of each tradition which indicates the presence of a wider sense of identity, a sense of coherence in a shared context and of inclusion in a common framework and horizon. Indigenous developments. The notion of common denominators for several religions and traditions of India was already noted from the 12th century CE on. Lorenzen traces the emergence of a family resemblance, and what he calls as beginnings of medieval and modern Hinduism, taking shape at c. 300–600 CE, with the development of the early Puranas, and continuities with the earlier Vedic religion. Lorenzen states that the establishment of a Hindu self-identity took place through process of mutual self-definition with a contrasting Muslim other. Quote, according to Lorenzen, this presence of the other is necessary to recognize the loose family resemblance among the various traditions and schools. According to Nicholson, already between the 12th and the 16th centuries, certain thinkers began to treat as a single whole the diverse philosophical teachings of the Upanishads, epics, Puranas, and the schools known retrospectively as the six systems of mainstream Hindu philosophy. The tendency of a blurring of philosophical distinctions has also been noted by Burley. Hacker called this inclusivism, and Michaels speaks of the identificatory habit. Lorenzen locates the origins of a distinct Hindu identity in the interaction between Muslims and Hindus, and a process of mutual self-definition with a contrasting Muslim other, which started well before 1800. Michaels notes, as a counteraction to Islamic supremacy and as part of the continuing process of regionalization, two religious innovations developed in the Hindu religions: the formation of sects and a historicization which preceded later nationalism aims and sometimes militant sect leaders, such as the Marathi poet Tukaram and Ramdas, articulated ideas in which they glorified Hinduism and a past. The Brahmins also produced increasingly historical texts, especially eulogies and chronicles of sacred sites, or developed a reflexive passion for collecting and compiling extensive collections of quotations on various subjects. This inclusivism was further developed in the 19th and 20th centuries by Hindu reform movements and Neo-Vedanta, and has become characteristic of modern Hinduism. Colonial influences. The notion and reports on Hinduism as a single world religious tradition was popularized by 19th-century proselytizing missionaries and European Indologists, roles sometimes served by the same person, who relied on texts preserved by Brahmins for their information of Indian religions, and animist observations which the missionary Orientalists presumed was Hinduism. These reports influenced perceptions about Hinduism. Some scholars state that the colonial polemical reports led to fabricated stereotypes where Hinduism was mere mystic paganism devoted to the service of devils, while other scholars state that the colonial constructions influenced the belief that the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Manusmriti and such texts were the essence of Hindu religiosity, and in the modern association of Hindu doctrine with the schools of Vedanta as paradigmatic example of Hinduism's mystical nature. Pennington, while concurring that the study of Hinduism as a world religion began in the colonial era, disagrees that Hinduism is a colonial European era invention. He states that the shared theology, common ritual grammar and way of life of those who identify themselves as Hindus is traceable to ancient times.